Hey there, PotatoCast fans. We're going to get this started up with the last round of StimHack Online Cache Refresh Season 8 in just 1 minute. If you'll bear with me. Just make sure we're running. Looks good. And let me just contact our participants. Great. So sorry for the delay, everybody. Went ahead and just posted the link to the group. So we're ready whenever. This is the last round of, I don't know, I think there were 6 rounds and then a top cut to 8, if I remember correctly. So a lot of games played so far. Good time has been had by all. And we've got Rob and Dimitri, right? Dimitri? Yeah, Dimitri coming up. So while we're waiting for them, I'll take a look and see if we can find out what they're on. So Rob is Groenkaaf. He's on MT and Gabe. Good choices. And LazyChef is on ASA and CT. So I think Gabe is a solid choice right now with Paragon crowdfunding and the bypass, stuff in the mix. Also, Pad Tap Tycoon. You've kind of got a lot of things to work with there. I'm not sure exactly what his build is. Cool. Looks like they're ready, so we'll hop in. So it looks like this first one is going. Oops. First one is going to be Rob Corping. So we'll see a chaos theory. So, oops. It's really cool that the good people at JNet, which I think was mainly Node this time around, was able to create a special SOCR8 format for use online. That made things really, really easy to work out. So big thanks to those guys. And thanks to Sanjay for organizing this event. And as always, thank you to the Godfather Fighting Walloon for setting these up in the first place and getting together, a community that can actually stick around and play 8 seasons, more or less back to back, of what could otherwise be sort of a niche format. All right, so let's see what we're looking at here. Corp side, we've got border control. Seems pretty good. Likely to see something that's like a Nisei border control timely public release for making really hard to get at servers. We see Sadaka, which is a cool trap. I'm not sure if that's part of a larger combo or if it's just that there's not. I'm not immediately thinking of a lot of great AI breakers, and so you're left having to use something like Ngolo or Lamb to deal with that. And then on the green side of the table, Proco going down. I wouldn't be that surprised if this was kind of a patchwork professional contacts build. Cyberdelia also coming down early. I might have waited on the Cyberdelia because he's probably not going to be breaking any ice anytime soon. and would rather spend another turn drawing or maybe installing a Mimic, but it's all good. Looks like Rob, these guys are playing so fast. Rob got an SSL started up immediately, kind of challenging him to, he's unlikely to have a way to challenge a single server at this point, short of like a stim hack and SMC. So, all right, cool. So Cubon on Sadaka, that's a little bit disappointing because it's not going to last very long. But that's fine. And Rob's off to an early lead with the SSL on the board. Yeah, so Sadaka is good for taking up professional contacts. It's likely that Rob, knew based on past experience that that Dimitri was going to be on Proco, and so having a way to trash that is a big tempo hit. So dieseled into some more draw and a compile, which is a super sweet card. Nice that he's got the option now of challenging remotes before getting the rest of his breaker suite down. He's a little bit flooded with draw stuff, and this is not going to go great. That's going to be a pretty big blow. Not getting the Cubon credits, being denied the R&D access, and losing Proco. I think when Rob's stayed here, I might ditch the Anansi depending on how many he has in the deck in order to take out Proco. Okay, looks like he ditched a Thimble Rig instead. Yeah, that's fine. I personally really like Thimble Rig in MT, so I might have held on to that. But I guess he figures that pretty soon he'll be back on top with credits with Celebrity Gift, and wants to keep around the Anansi because it's such a potent threat. Kevin says that he's not on Patchwork. He's on Admin and Lamb, which is interesting. Yeah, looks like basically between Code Replicator, Border Control, Anansi, and the MT ability, Rob is going to be able to set up kind of a hell server here. Cool. So Rob with the swordsman include may have been looking ahead and expecting to see admin flying around willy-nilly. So this is kind of a cool tech and counter tech that we see going back and forth here. That's the thing I like about this format, or this tournament at least, is that since there's so many rounds and so much spectating, and you're allowed to change your deck in between rounds, you get in situations like this where Rob knows that that Dimitri is on admin and wants to have some counterplay. I Okay. Dimitri's looking like in a little bit of trouble right now. Yeah, so he's going to have to challenge this, and he's able to. Yeah, so he's got plenty of money with the clone chip and SMC and StimHack. Yeah, if I was Rob, I might have preferred to just tank the StimHack when I res border control. I think that the corp still has priority during the res ice window. I could be mistaken on that, but being able to tank the StimHack and give him a brain would be pretty good, because otherwise he's just going to do it. Anyway. So I don't think he's going to bother trashing border control at this point. We'll see. Okay, yeah, this might be a good game. So I don't think, I guess, unless he top decks a compile. Yeah, I think that's probably a very quick first game. Yeah, I feel like in this format, MT doesn't lose a ton of cards that it, is using in modern builds in the standard pool, especially now that it's restricted and Obo's not available. Yeah, this looks pretty rough. Okay, and just like that, the game is over. Oof. 9 minutes. That is rough stuff. All right, so let's see. I think if I was Dimitri, I would definitely Corp. Yeah, that was pretty rough. I think people generally feel like Corp is in a better position in this format than Runner is. Sanjay shared some stats a while back, and I think that there were significantly more Corp splits than Runner splits showing after the at the end of Swiss. I don't know. I mean, I played in this tournament. I ended up kind of in the middle, and I felt like it was a lot harder to build a good runner than it was to build a good corp. See a lot of good Wayland builds out of Outfit and building a better world, really leveraging the economic advantage you can get with Too Big to Fail, and having stuff like border control and faction, KP Lin, forced connection, lots of ways to land a fatal number of tags. So let's see what we're starting with here. All right, so Gabe, really solid economic start between diversion of funds, sure gamble, StimHack, daily casts, and being Gabe. And then solid econ start from Dimitri's side of things as well. Ace a nice tempo ID. Probably see a play like Rashida and Ice, and then sure gamble, and then either Ice. I might Ice HQ, yeah, because you don't want to lose that aggressive secretary at this point, and you want to deny Gabe the monies. Yep. So Probably not a huge surprise there to see Rashida popping. Again, Rashida and NGO front, two completely staple corp cards and standard that are available in the SOCR8 card pool. So I think pretty much everybody that would be watching this knows what the pool is, but in case you don't, it's Rain and Reverie, Katara Cycle, Revised Core. This is the final FFG Revised Core, and one big box of your choice. Then the MWL is customized a little bit, but it's pretty close to the Nisei 3.0 MWL. So I'm not sure what fractor Rob is on. We'll see. It's not corroder because that's not available. Let's find out what it is. Oh, admin, cool. Admin is good. So yeah, this is looking pretty solid right here. Crank up the economic advantage, and then probably he's probably on indexing. If I was him, I might poke R&D, poke HQ, draw a couple cards. So only 3 credits. That's a pretty bold jam. Oof. All right, embezzle. Now we're seeing some good stuff. So seeing Dimitri at 6 credits might be a reasonable time to take a poke. Seeing IPO, yeah, he definitely wants to embezzle at this point. I might have even embezzled first, but if he's able to hit, even one econ transaction, then he'll be happy. Ooh, and he gets them both. That is rough stuff. Yeah, so Rob, guessing agenda. See what he's got. Yeah. Okay, and there goes that. I think aggressive secretary is when you know that your opponent's going to be on criminal, then you have to expect they're going to have a number of copies of falsified in their deck. So I'd be a little bit hesitant to rely on traps here, but I didn't make the cut and these guys did, so my opinion is not that valuable. Okay, Wall of Static is, I don't know if that's really worth the install cost at this point. I might have thrown it over Archives or just left it in hand. Archives for Sneak Door, but Slot Machine over R&D is nice. So looking at from Dimitri's side of the board, I wouldn't feel super secure in the server. Gatekeeper is good. Yeah, but Rob is just pretty rich right now. And Amina is going to, widen this disparity in credits. I really have been pleased with Amina. Being able to break Fairchild 3 for 4 credits and handle a lot of the other, big nasty ice, super helpful. DNA tracker, for instance. All right. So he gets his money back. That's nice. probably not worth resing this wall of static. Yeah. So if I'm Dimitri, I might have resed Ginger City Grid after that. Going to 7 credits for the tempo and economic boost of getting the Ginger triggers is, I think, is probably worth it, especially since he's already got 3 pieces of ice in his hand, and won't be putting ice in that server that he'd rather have on R&D, for instance. All right. So we've got double slots on R&D. That's super expensive, potentially very lucrative. We'll see if, yeah, jacks out. Not worth paying the 3 again. Slot machines everywhere. What a nice. Big thanks to Wilfie for designing such a fun piece of ice. So that one, probably, I don't know. I think breaking slot machine for 4 versus losing the 3 and potentially giving your opponent 3. I think I'd probably just pay it in this case, but I guess he needed to get. He needed the money to get in anyway, so it's a dumb thing to say. So here, Rob is, looks to be a little bit on his back foot. Yeah, from Dimitri's position. So yeah, so I think having the Ginger Res would have been really nice, because then with the ASA ability, you can save the click on installing the ice and also save the click on installing the ash. So not having that rest a couple turns earlier. I'm doing a bad job of keeping track of credit, so maybe he needed to have enough to res several slot machines and couldn't spare the extra 1 credit to res Ginger. But this is kind of a window where he doesn't know there's a stim hack in hand or an inside job, obviously. But this is the closest thing that Dimitri's had to being on top of the situation in a while. So let's see. Yep, throws the home guard on there. I'm assuming that he's on Surveyor, since we haven't seen a restricted card yet. Is Ultraviolet restricted? Maybe Ultraviolet's restricted in this format. I can't remember. Yeah, I mean, we're only seeing 3. We're only seeing 3 influence so far. So he's probably on either Border Control or a Surveyor. Both of which have been making really strong showings in this tournament. Oh. That noise means that Rashida's restricted. Thanks, Kevin. We haven't seen your. Oh, no, there's Rashida. There it is. Okay. It's a big play here. 2 credits left, so I guess that Dimitri's mathing this out a little bit, trying to figure out whether he can just res. Yeah, so he reses Ash, and that leaves him with 5 credits left to res, whatever. Won't be able to score the SSL next turn. Assuming that Rob runs back in. Oh, Rob didn't trash. Oh, he was shorter trashing it. That's a bummer. Okay, cool. Well, this changes everything. So Dimitri gets the SSL scored. Game point with no agendas in hand, and Central is super expensive. Getting a little bit more of a econ flowing now. This is cool. It's been a good back and forth in this game. I feel like that Archives is going to feel like a bit of a liability pretty soon. Just probably once the second crowdfunding goes into the bin. Rob is going to, okay, he's starting now. I'm just going to go ahead and start farming data sucker tokens. Rob with the second data sucker in hand and 1 MU free is looking pretty good. Might have just got ahead and installed the data sucker before starting that run so that you can start breaking multiple slot machines per turn with Amina. Okay, yeah, installs after the fact. So we'll see. That's I feel like that's pretty transparently an NGO front because it's game point, but maybe he's hoping that Rob decides it's threatening enough that he wants to make sure. With Dimitri on 2 credits, probably doesn't feel too threatened by this remote. So imagine he's going to run Archives a couple of times, build a couple of sucker tokens, and then hit the remote. Yeah. No, it's going for it. That seems reasonable. Might as well, guarantee that when you get to the bottom of this thing, you're able to clear out Ash. So if he goes up to 9 credits, then he'll be able to res Gatekeeper at strength 6, which leaves 1 leftover data sucker counter. So I think he could res 1 of the ice and the Gatekeeper. Okay, he decides it's lost cause. Just going to go ahead and get the NGO bucks. Yeah, I guess there was not much point in resing the ice and losing the element of surprise, aside from preserving Ash for another turn. I don't know. It could go another way. I think it's a reasonable play. These guys are pretty smart, good at playing Netrunner, the card game. Ooh, triple whammy. In this case, probably not super useful to be able to advance anything. You gotta triple advance the Jinja or something. Oh well. Yeah, so right now, Rob is looking. I think Rob looks good to win this thing. You know, I don't know what Dimitri has in his deck. I would assume that he's got a biotic labor in here somewhere, and so he, might just be able to get to the finish with. No, no, he's just going for it. That is a lot of ice. All right. Well, that makes me think that he probably doesn't have biotic if he's working to secure server one so hard. I think the probably we're going to see here is yeah, he's going to go ahead and break this one most likely because yeah, he wants to make him lose the money and also deny him the gain 3. Kevin, my inside man, says that Dimitri does have a biotic. So I don't know, maybe he's trying to set up a bluff next turn so that he can install and double advance the NGO front, or install and advance it, and draw a card, and try to take the heat off of centrals. So once now that Rob's got 4 data sucker counters racked up, he can make runs on R&D for $4 a pop, 3 with Paragon. Yeah, so this is looking. I think this is a challenging situation for Dimitri to be in. All right. Nice. So he's selling it. Instead of double advancing it, he just installs and advances it at once. I'm sure he's got some 4-2s in here. Let's see. I guess if he's got Maryland, then he's on terminal directive, so he has successful field test, or at least could plausibly have successful field test. Oop. All right. Kevin Tame, former soccer champion, keeps on messaging me on Slack and telling me all the secret tech. So maybe you should have just done commentary with me, Kevin. It's been a lot easier. Okay. So I don't know if he has much in the way of multi-access. But I think he's going to be able to make these runs pretty cheap for a while. So you can make runs on HQ that are neutral. No, get purged. Cool. So now Rob's a little jammed up. So this is exciting. Yep. So he's going to jam it. 20 credits and no data sucker support. This looks pretty good to me for the game. Not sure what he does here. Maybe install the ferry and go for it. No, so he decides he probably decides he can't get in, and he'll try his luck on centrals. So, okay. So, spending to break that, deny him the 3 credits, might mean that he's considering a Hail Mary run on the remote. He's going to have to do it next click since it's I don't think that he has a way to get in there because he has to do it next click and get in for $5 or less. But we'll see. Okay, it's going for it. So it's going to cost him another 1. It's going to be close. Let's see what he can do. I can't math this out. I think that the gatekeeper is going to be I think the gatekeeper is going to keep him out. Assuming that, yeah, I think he can res the Ichi and then res the gatekeeper, and that'll be the end of it. That'll leave him with plenty of money left to get this thing scored. So I can't remember who gets to pick sides. If no. Kevin texts me again to remind me that SSL is going to give him $3 next turn, so he can spend everything on this run. So we'll see. I mean, yeah. There's Olmegard. Deny those sucker tokens, and then yeah, I think I would have done Ichi and then Gatekeeper. Yeah, he's going to be a credit short of finishing this job. So Rob, I'm sure, is just going to let this fire. Yeah. So that's close. Can't count those chickens. There's not a lot of ice in this card pool that costs 2 credits or fewer. Oof, quite a game. Cool, and we've got a winner. So Rob takes it in 2 and becomes the champion. I think he did quite well in the previous season as well. So he's really been making a good showing for himself, making a name for himself in this tight-knit soccer community. Dimitri is giving himself a little bit of a hard time, but I don't know. I think it was tough to math that one out. I think it could have gone either way. That was a really interesting game. Lots of big swings back and forth in terms of Yeah. So they're talking it out, figuring it out now. But we'll see. Cool. Well, I think maybe they've muted spectators. So that'll be the end of it for us. But thanks a lot for watching Potato Cast, the lowest budget streaming possible, and hope to see you all for SOCR9.